everyone. Welcome to Draft Dreams, an Inside the Birds presentation profiling NFL draft prospects chasing their big dreams. I'm your host, Andrew DiCecco from InsideTheBirds.com, and with me today, Ohio State safety, Josh Proctor. Josh, thanks for spending a few minutes chatting with me today. How are you?
Great. How about you?
I'm doing awesome, man. So, just to start, you've checked off a ton of boxes this pre-draft cycle. Do you feel like you've checked off every box that you sought out to do when this process started?
Uh, Pretty much. Like I said, it's been a long journey. I know there's been a lot of questions, a lot of what ifs, and so I'm just ready to showcase what I can do on the field. I feel like I tested pretty good. I hit a lot of my numbers, and I'm just ready to get going, honestly, and show if I can do it on the field.
Just to go back on something that you just said, the what ifs. When you look back on your decorated Ohio State career, do you have any what ifs, or are you satisfied with how everything played out?
Uh, I would say I'm satisfied, but it took a lot. It took a lot. Just the whole transition and dealing with the college, the whole 6 years. It took a lot of looking at myself in the mirror and really just reflecting on how I can be better on and off the field, and ultimately to help me on the field. So uh, it really took those years for me to really truly find myself and really
Yeah,
realize the things that I could do.
and we're certainly going to get into that. But we'll start with the most recent, Josh, and what the pre-draft process was like for you, because you're getting pulled in a million different directions. Obviously, you're accustomed to that playing at Ohio State, but
Right.
you have to meet with teams. You're doing all kinds of medical stuff. What's it been like for you?
Uh, it was a lot. I dealt with a lot of medical. I've talked to multiple teams. They got a lot of film on me. I've been there 6 years, so it's not like they don't see anything that that may or may not worry them. So it's just it's just getting them to realize that I've grown in different ways and that I have become a better player within those years.
And how do you, for it's curious, how do you show someone and prove to them that you're grown?
Just being consistent on a daily basis, showing that discipline, and just your love for the game. What's me about going to how you go about your business, basically.
Have you had a lot of visits or local days that you've attended in the past few weeks?
No, I haven't had any visits or local days, but I have to go down to Cincinnati April 16th, so next week,
Awesome.
and that'll
I
be the
wouldn't. The visits don't surprise that you have a lot of tape out there. Teams know who you are. You were at the combine.
right.
You're at the Senior Bowl. There's plenty of stuff out there on you. So why don't we talk about the earliest days of your football? Uh, just getting indoctrinated in football. I guess at 6 years old, you have three siblings, I believe, right? You were the youngest
Right.
of three.
I
Was there a lot of competitive nature between you
am.
guys, and how did that help shape you at an early age?
Definitely. We're all 5 years apart, so I literally watched them just go through every process that they went through, and I was just chasing them, being the younger brother, wanting to be around the older siblings all the time, trying to do what they do, and it was like it was never nothing I could do. I couldn't do. I felt like, and that's where that competitive nature came from, just trying to hang with them and be around them. Now, I honestly give credit to my big sister. She kind of bullied me a little bit, made me a little tougher. So.
Well, you gotta give Big Sister's name a shout out here.
Dominique Proctor.
There you go. A big credit to Dominique. So you were a three-sport athlete, Josh. You played baseball, basketball, and football. What led you to eventually veer towards football and pursue that?
uh, I honestly, so my first love was really basketball. That was what I started out with, but it was just seeing the football games on TV. I would watch them with my dad, and I would see them just like hitting each other and everything. And I'm like, dang, like you can do that, like it's legal. And my dad was just like, yeah, and I was like, I want to play football, and literally, I just kept begging him until he finally got me out there, and I was just fell in love with it ever since. I felt like that was my happy place.
So you grew up just outside of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you attended Owasso High School, if I'm correct on the pronunciation there.
Yes.
And you played safety, quarterback, uh,
A
wide
little bit of
receiver. Yeah,
everything.
wide receiver. So, like, how did looking back now, Josh, all these years later, how did playing quarterback and wide receiver help you see the game differently as a defensive back?
It was just knowing what the receiver and may give you, little tips that the quarterbacks and receivers do that give you a telltale sign. And I don't know, it kind of just came naturally, honestly. And the more I started playing it, the more I started loving it, the more I started trying to learn the game from different people, like watching Derwin James and going back and watching Ed Reed and different people like that and how they played the game. It just took off from there.
Now, were you getting courted as for basketball and baseball too out of high school from different schools, or was it strictly
No,
football?
it was just football and basketball.
Okay, so what were some of the schools that you were deciding between when you're making your decision?
It wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say decided because they get like a limited amount of offers in basketball. So they didn't really want to take a chance. A lot of them knew I played football and they probably knew I was going to play football. But I was looking, I had Minnesota, I had Wichita State, um, and some other like D2 schools like that. But other than that, that was really just the deciding factor. And I just sat down and thought which one did I really love more, which one have I really put work into more. And that was football. I couldn't step away from it. So
Wichita State seems to always be in the tournament, though. That would have been interesting to see how that played
oh,
out. But
definitely,
yeah,
definitely.
you definitely made the right decision. Do you remember anything in particular, Josh, about the Ohio State courtship with Urban Meyer? That visit that really persuaded you to go play at that decorated program?
um, it was really just the brotherhood aspect. I remember my first visit coming up here, and it was just me and my dad, and we were going on all kind of trips that throughout those couple weeks, literally from school to school. We was going around the world, and that was probably the longest week of my life. But it was just something about Ohio State. I felt comfortable. It just felt like home as soon as I stepped here. The relationships I made as soon as I stepped on campus with some of the players before I got here. It just felt good.
Now, a lot of times on those, I guess, visits, you'll have a player who sort of hosts you and takes you around. I don't know if that was still the case when you were going through the process, but what player was that for you?
Uh can't even remember honestly. I just
Maybe a
remember
defensive back or
no, it wasn't even if I don't even think they were in school at that time. They may have been on break, honestly. It was just me and a bunch of coaches.
so coming from high school and being, the big man on campus, you've played at many different sports as we talked about. What was the biggest, I guess, hurdle, if you will, that when you were transitioning to the collegiate level, what was like the biggest struggle or the acclimation in terms of acclimation?
It was really that whole transition. Just learning how to time manage, dealing with school and tutoring and study hall and football practice and meetings and all those different stresses, and then your outside life with that. It was just a lot. So it took me longer than a lot of people to really figure that out. But I mean, I don't regret anything. I've learned, I've grown, and I'm continue to grow.
Yeah, the remarkable thing, Josh, is that you did figure it out, and there's no time limit on when someone can kind of redirect their course. But to your credit, you did. How did you go about doing that?
Took a lot of praying, a lot of talking to God, talking to my parents, and honestly just opening up and listening to coaches and accepting that help. That was one of my hardest things was just trusting people and letting people in and opening up. And once I did that, I felt free. I felt like a relief off my shoulders, and I felt like you saw that come out this year, and I played like that.
Exactly. So can you talk a little bit about the Ohio State culture that's been sort of fostered there during your time?
Um, just strictly brotherhood. You come together as one once you get there, and it's like it's one big family. And It's through your good days, your bad days. You depend on everyone around you, and that's who you're with every day. And that's who really what I leaned on coming to Ohio State, just having that family aspect, being 13 hours away from home. So that was a big deal for me.
Now, looking at it on the field, where do you feel you've made the biggest growth in terms of your skill set or maybe tapping into another element?
Honestly, just learning the game. When I got injured in 2021, that took a lot out of me. It took, I kind of felt myself go in a hole, and it was kind of hard to dig myself out, to getting that confidence back, trusting my body again, and just going out there to be me. And it honestly took a couple years. It took that 2022 season, that 2023 season for me to really just trust myself and believe that I could do what I used to do.
Wow.
And getting away from the game those couple years, I was able to just watch and learn. And it was different for me because I was used to just playing and going to react. And I was actually learning football now, learning formations, learning tips and little details that may help me play faster.
And for those who don't know, it was a compound fracture in your right leg. Is that right, Josh?
Right.
Wow. So, what was the rehab process like for you?
It was long. I was probably in the house for a couple months, like literally couldn't move, leg propped up, icing, and just couldn't do anything. And then I had to relearn how to walk, literally step from step. I had to teach myself how to run again, how to balance. And then once I got back out there, I mean, I still had those times where it may swell up sometimes or aggravate me. So I just had to get through it and push through it sometimes.
Sometimes moments of adversity can often provide a unique perspective. Does that give you a new perspective on football and how you sort of value the game?
Definitely. At that time, I kind of felt like everything was just kind of like stripped away. And I'm a fighter. I'm not going to give up. When my back is against the wall, I'm going to come out swinging no matter what. And my love for this game wouldn't let me walk away. And I just wanted to prove to myself that I could get back out there and do what I could do. And that was just my biggest takeaway was it's not over.
Your energy is really palpable. And for someone who has been through everything that you've been through, you couldn't. I mean, you see you on the sideline, you're up and you're getting everybody riled up. You're on the field and you're setting the tone. You really step up as a leader, Josh. Where's the energy and the sort of renewed love come from? Because you have more energy than anybody out there.
The love's always been there. I'm an energetic player. I'm a happy person. I'm always goofy. I'm always playing around. I'm somebody who's gonna try to make you smile no matter what. But when it's time to lock in, I'm ready to go. But I still have that energy. That's my happy place. Like I said, when I step in between those lines, I just feel like a different person. I put on my mask and I go to work.
What's your alter ego? What's your alter ego?
uh, just a killer.
There you
That's
go. Because you know how Brian
I don't.
Dawkins had he was X-Men, Wolverine, or whatever.
I don't really have a superhero, but I'm just a different person. I'm a killer when I step in between those lines, and I want to dominate.
I respect it, and it shows in your game, man. So you play the adjuster position on the Ohio State back end. Can you elaborate on what the responsibilities of that position entailed?
A lot of communication, getting guys lined up, talking to the nickels, making sure the corner gets the call. If the players on the other side of the field may not see you, got to make sure you communicate with them, communicate with the linebackers. It's just a lot of communication. You're the quarterback back there. You're the last person in the defense. You're usually the deep person. Nothing gets behind you, and that's a lot of responsibility. If they get behind you, it's touchdown.
Communication is obviously paramount, especially playing on the back end. How did
Right.
you go about refining that communication and making sure everybody was on the same page, being that leader on the back end?
Um, a lot of studying, the game, coming in with extra meetings, meeting with coach, I graduated before the season, so I had a lot of time to just come in and just really learn and watch football. And that's literally all I did throughout the week.
I imagine practices were really spirited there. Could
Oh,
you sort of
definitely.
take us behind the scenes on what that might have been like?
A lot of competition. You see the best of the best every day. We're going to get some Marvin Harrison, Emeka Bukas. Before that, you had the Chris Olave's, Garrett Wilson's,
Mhm.
Jackson's. And I've guarded every single one of them guys. And it's always nonstop competition. We're going to talk back and forth. We're going to talk mess and get you riled up. So it's always exciting just to see what player comes out and does what they do each day at practice.
Now, this is a bit of a loaded question, but who was the toughest cover out of all the players you just mentioned?
Just one?
We go. We'll go. We could say two to be fair.
Definitely Garrett. Definitely Garrett. Once he was there, I was playing a little bit of the slot. That's when Halfley was still there coaching, and I was moving around a little bit. So I definitely had a lot of competition with Garrett. And I would have to say, honestly, CJ Saunders. He gave he gave me some nightmares in that slot position also.
But I'm sure iron sharpens iron. So it was the same way with him. You probably made him better as well.
Definitely, definitely.
So is there a play or a moment throughout your career, Josh, that really stands out as particularly memorable?
Um, Jeez, I got a lot of plays. We can go from the big hits. Probably one of my favorites was Wisconsin when I hit the quarterback 2019. Or probably coming back to last year, Maryland with the interception of pick six. That was my first pick six. That was probably my most exciting moment. So
Now, a lot of players in today's world of college football would have transferred or at least considered that given the adversity and maybe try to go somewhere where they could have made a name for themselves. What propelled you to stay there? Was it unfinished business but what propelled you to stay there for all 6 years?
uh, definitely unfinished business. Like I said, I feel like it was a long process, and then even with transferring, you can go through the same thing sometimes, and sometimes it may be worse. And it just took a lot of praying and knowing what I wanted out of this. And I feel like Ohio State made me a better person. And that was
You're
really my deciding factor.
so you with you being a coach on the field, essentially, do you feel that that's going to help your transition to the pro level, already having been that communicator, directing traffic on the back end?
Definitely. I'm used to talking. I have to talk. And honestly, it's became part of my nature. And it makes football easier. It helps everybody play faster and everybody make plays. And I just want to help the team as best as I can. And if that's being the communicator, I'll be the communicator.
And on the other side of that, being as battle tested as you are, Josh, do you feel like everything you've gone through, coming out of the mud clean, do you think that that really helps your transition to the NFL, that you're able to carry all that with you, knowing that you're able to make it through?
It does. It does. I know I can do it now. I know there's nothing I can't do if I put my mind to it and put my head down and just grind and do everything that I'm supposed to do.
What's been one point of emphasis of that you've been trying to work on throughout your training, whether it be coverage, whether it be agility, a point of emphasis? What would you say?
Definitely coverage. I'm a tall player, but I can move. And I know I can guard people. And sometimes I get a little high. Maybe my back pedal get a little sloppy in my transitions and stuff like that. And that's all I've really been working on is just basically, like you said, my agility and just coming in and out of those breaks, staying low and just staying in position, being ready to make a play when the opportunity comes.
I'm fascinated with defensive backs. I write about them a lot. I cover plenty of them. What do you do specifically, Josh, to sort of refine that area? What kind of agility drills do you do? How do you sort of help that area of your game?
Just getting out there, doing different transition drills, maybe breaking at different angles. Maybe that's a 90 or 45. Hip flip drills, post breaks, getting sideline to sideline, just different things. Try to make a game like sometimes. So basically, just mixing in a lot of those different drills.
Out of the many defensive backs in this draft class, you're one of the ones that right off the bat strike me as someone that's going to be a special teams demon. What is your approach to the third phase?
I love it. And so I feel like special teams sets the tone for the whole game. And that's something you're taught once you get to Ohio State. And that's something I've carried on throughout Ohio State. And that's why I've continued to be on special teams. I'm not going to shy away from it. I know I'm going to probably do it once I get to the NFL. But like I said, I just want to do everything I can to help the team. And it doesn't matter. Put me in whatever spot. I'm going to go do it.
What do you like doing when you're not playing football?
I like to fish. I'm an outside guy, and I like to draw and paint.
Interesting. Well, how did you develop that skill, like drawing and painting? Was it recent or was it at a younger age?
It was definitely at a younger age. I used to think I was going to be a shoe artist, so I used to draw shoes a lot, and that was kind of like the start of it. Me and my cousin used to draw shoes, and I had this little spiral I would draw in, and I would just doodle in all the time. And I was actually in a little art program in elementary, but I got away from it for a long time once I got focused on sports and I was moving around so much. And once I got injured in 2021, that was really when I picked it back up. Because like I said, I was sitting in the house. I was in my head a lot. I was kind of in a hole and I just wanted to find something that brought me peace. And I started drawing and painting again.
There's probably some significance to that first piece of artwork that you did during that downtime when you maybe weren't feeling your best. Do you still have that?
Uh, I actually might. 1 second. Actually, one of the first
Nice.
many more.
Wow, nice. That's awesome. How was that idea derived?
Sometimes I would just look at pictures and I would just go off what they would look like, or I would just add kind of like my own twist to them or something like that, just something different. But yeah, I have a lot of these, a lot of
That's
different
good.
paintings.
That's awesome. Eventually, I'm going to see a Josh Proctor art website in addition to wherever you end up, and you have your player bio out there.
Maybe. I mean, shoot, I honestly want to start taking it a little more serious. I fell in love with it again, and it's something I really just do on my off time whenever I can, honestly.
That's awesome. You're very skilled in that area too. So,
Mhm.
but I have to talk about the Senior Bowl. That's a tremendous opportunity to showcase your ability against the premier competition in the country.
Right.
Well, how did you learn that you got the invite, and what was that whole week like for you?
It was actually after practice. They had a box sitting in my locker, and they had a note saying, "Go open your locker" or something like that. So I went in there, I saw the box, and I was like, "Oh man!" So I mean, I was just excited. It was kind of like a surreal moment, just knowing that it finally came. I've been there 6 years. Something I've been dreaming about, wanting, just going to that next step, transitioning to that next level, and that was the first step to the process. And once I got that, I was just like, okay, it's go time. Like it's time to go.
And how do you feel you fared against the competition?
I think I did great. Throughout that week, I created a lot of relationships with the players and a lot of coaches, NFL coaches that were teaching us and stuff like that. Learned different aspects of the game. I took advice from them, and it was just a great week and a great opportunity. And I feel like it was something I actually did good in. In the practices, I performed. In the game, I didn't do too bad. So
No, yeah, and you parlayed that performance into a really good showing at the NFL scouting combine. There's a few drills you didn't do. Was that the plan going in?
uh,
The three
not
cone, the short shuttle, the bench.
not actually. Actually, the bench was just because of medical reasons to show the
Hmm.
injuries I've had, two
Hmm.
surgeries. So, but other than that, just the three cone and the 5-10-5, I was honestly just burnt out
I don't
throughout the
blame you.
day. I was burnt out through 40 doing all those drills, and then by the time we got to the end to do those drills, I was just like, nah, I might as well wait till pro day because I didn't want to get out there and get sloppy and do a terrible rep and go home. So
No, exactly. No. That's smart. And how was pro day for you? Did you feel like you accomplished what you set out to do?
I did. I put on some weight after the combine, and I got out there, and I felt like I did what I needed to do, showcase what I could up close. Because at the combine, it's different. Everybody's far away, and I felt like it was just a good opportunity to get out there again.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of pro days. I do a whole pro day tour, and I feel like you really get to really see what a player is able to do in that sort of environment. And sometimes, you get the Senior Bowl and the Shrine Bowl and the Combine. They're all really close together, and
Mhm.
sometimes that's like overkill. You're not really able to get to see what a player is able to do at optimum efficiency. So
Yeah.
pro days are great. Um, has there been any player in the NFL that you've sort of leaned on to get you through this whole process?
uh, Honestly, just only person I've probably been in contact with recently was Jordan Fuller, and some of the guys who came back for pro day. Just talking to me about the process was that Jonathan Cooper, he was there, Draymond Jones, different guys like that, just giving little insights and stuff.
Yeah, you played with Jordan Fuller obviously for a couple seasons, and
I
what
did.
what did you learn playing behind him?
I learned everything. That was really where my 2024 mindset came from. Was him. The way he carried himself, the way he went about his business, he was never out of place. I
Is
felt
there
like
an Yeah, I mean, he was like the steady presence, very sharp-minded
always,
guy, always
always,
there. I was a big like I thought he was one of the more underrated safeties available in the free agent market this go round.
definitely.
Um, is there any area of your game that you feel is untapped that maybe folks don't know about yet because you haven't had a chance to really channel it on the field?
Just the mental aspect. Like I said, I've grown a lot, and it took me those full 2 years. And the 24 season, I was able to really showcase a little bit of that. And I feel like I'm able to show a little more of that once I get to the NFL and get my chance and get that opportunity just to show what I can do and show really what I've learned and that I know football.
What will an NFL team be getting in Josh Proctor?
You'll get a passionate player and get a loving, caring person. Like I said, I'm always happy. I don't have a, like to have a lot of bad days. I always have a smile on my face.
That's
And
obvious from talking to you just for the half hour.
like I said, you just get a definitely a passionate player, someone who cares about this game and someone who wants this.
Josh, and I'm sure you have you given it any thought, given everything you've been through? We're a couple weeks out from the NFL draft. What it's going to feel like to get that phone call and find out where you're going to be playing?
I've been doing a lot of thinking about that lately, man. I don't know. It's going to be probably an emotional moment, honestly. I've been through a lot, something I've dreamed about my whole entire life. From the time I used to sleep with footballs in my bed. um, it's just something I've always wanted. It's a dream of mine, and it's a dream come true just to even be here now, be having this opportunity to talk to you. Something you never really think of coming up, playing football and playing sports, even where I'm from, making it
Wow.
this far. So
Have Where will you be on draft weekend? How are you going to spend that week? Spend that time?
I'm going to go back home, spend time with my family, and just be with them. And they're the ones who's been with me through this whole process, and they deserve it. They deserve it as much as I do.
That's going to be great. Stories like yours are why I got into covering the draft many years ago. I just enjoy sharing these type of stories, and I'm really excited to see where your career path takes you, Josh.
Thank you.
You're a well-rounded player. You're well deserving of this opportunity, and I'll be tuning in and seeing and following where you're going to be going.
Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Draft Dreams. For Josh Proctor, I'm Andrew DiCecco. Thanks for tuning in, everyone.